People always ask me, what's the most important part of a violin? There is no net answer for this question. But today we go a little bit deeper into this subject. Stay tuned and I will explain you. Hello, back again. Here everybody is shaking because I'm clapping my hands. This is Edgar from Cremona, Italy, and my channel is full with small details which are really important to make a great sounding instrument here from Cremona, Italy. But there is one detail I didn't talk about by now, and I think it is quite important. We are talking today about the right neck angle, which means the instrument is not created with everything already done. You have to cut it and you have to insert the neck. During the time of baroque instruments, they built the instrument completely different. They put this neck exactly on the flat surface of the ribs. On a flat surface, they nailed the ribs on the socket of the neck, glued on the back, took everything off, and then glued on the top. And once the top was glued on, then they put it on the fingerboard with a certain inclination. But during baroque time, the requirements of a great sounding instrument were very different from nowadays. They had gut strings, and you would say that's all very soft. It wasn't that soft because these gut strings had a lot of tension on it. They had a very flat neck angle. The bridge was rather on the low side, strings were a little bit larger, neck was larger, and they didn't face too much the problem that they were stroking against the sea like nowadays when people are playing and smashing away the corners and stuff like this. Then the music has changed and the character of sound has changed, and to go more and more in this direction that would create a bigger sound, they had of course to change some constructional parts. So they did not put on the neck on the ribs with nails and all that. No, they started to make an insert to face the higher pressures and everything. They inserted the neck into the body, okay, and they started to make a more inclined neck or fingerboard surface. This fingerboard surface, when you put a ruler on top of it and you measure down here like this, is called the measurement, is the neck projection. And this neck projection, for many years, they believed, at least more than 100 years, that the more they incline it and the higher they go, the more powerful will be the instrument sounding. And even me, myself, when I came to Cremona over 40 years ago, I was convinced that you will have a stronger sound if you just make it a little bit higher. So at that time, 40 years ago, people sometimes made it so high that even a raw bridge, cut it and fit it, or trying to fit it on a violin, was not enough material in order to match the instrument that you would have a playable instrument. They made it so high. Even a cello, once I saw that you couldn't fit a cello bridge because it was so high, the neck angle. Over the years then, slowly I heard that some people were talking about that there is a specific angle over the strings which is good for the sound. In the beginning, I remember still these times, I thought, this is for these super precise people who want to measure everything, but it's not so important and whatever. It is important. And over the years now, the sound has also changed. The material for the strings has changed to more innovative material. So the neck angle is now more and more getting actually flatter and flatter. I talked about that already in the past. The neck angle has changed, and one thing of the very first things I actually discovered that something is changing is that the book of Hans Weishar gives for a cello a very precise measurement from the purfling measured to the beginning of the fingerboard. It's a very precise measurement, but then it depends really much how thick the fingerboard is and everything. But we don't want to go and make it too complicated. But this measurement on Hans Weishar in his book has been given as from 20 to 22 millimeters. And over the years, I could see that this measurements on cellos, double basses as well, where there was a measurement between 28 and 30, has raised on the cello from 22 to 24. I've even seen more than 24, 25 already, and some do it even more. And by raising this angle, you make the angle here on the bridge at the very end flatter, okay? Now, this flatter angle here results that when you make a string vibrate, it vibrates, but here it is not only vibrating up and down, but also back and forth. And the flatter it is, the more it is vibrating back and forth the entire bridge. And this is the reason that then the whole instrument sounds fuller and richer. Okay? By the way, unnecessary to measure neck projection and all these things. All instruments made in our workshop here in Cremona, Italy, under my supervision, are all perfect. And they just work perfect. So go and check them out on violincellomaker.com. Search, compare, and see what's your budget to maybe purchase, or you come here to Cremona and see what we have ready. There are some technical requirements on an instrument, especially on a violin and on a viola. The cello has its origin from a completely different instrument and therefore is not the same concept. On a cello, everything here is much larger. Here it is more out because you're playing by sitting on it, so it's everything a little bit different, but more or less we could say that one point, for me at least, is very clear, that the average of these 4 strings here on the upper nut, the average starting point, should be exactly on the same surface of the top where the top is glued on. And if you leave it there here and you leave that, and now you want to make the bridge higher or lower, to move this, it automatically goes in and out here. So to double check it, you can close an eye, you align one corner to the C and then twist a little bit the instrument like this, yeah, until you see exactly where this point is, if it's lined up on that same line. Or you can put a ruler on it. You can put a ruler here on this ribs here, like this, yeah, and go down like this. And then this dot should be exactly here where these 4 strings are. If this is here lower, this angle is stronger, and the instrument is less good sounding. I know you would say impossible, but very often you see very low bridges. People don't complain about the sound, but complain that it's too low, and they always stroke against the C here. It's not very comfortable if it's too low. And then they want to have a new neck setting. Everything will be made higher, and at the very end the instrument doesn't sound as before. And the reason is that they have dramatically changed here the whole situation. For me, this detail has a huge impact on playability, richness of sound, how it is ready, the sound, and if everything is healthy. There's just one thing which is a little bit working against my very clear idea how it should be and how in reality it will be, or it will result, and that's humidity and climate change. If I know that I have to send, let's say, an instrument to Singapore where entire year it's, or Malaysia where it's entire year very humid, I very likely make my neck setting a little bit higher. If it is humid, humidity goes into the neck foot here, is swallowing up the wood in this here. This is the main reason that this is responsible for the neck changing. If this here is going to be exposed to a high humidity, the neck is going down, okay? If this is exposed to very dry climate, it's shrinking, so the neck goes up. And this is the main reason that the neck is going up and down. And very often this is the issue. The difference on a cello is much bigger. Could be that you can easy play, and then 6 months later the string is actually lying on the fingerboard and you cannot play anymore. So much is the difference. Having said that, you can of course also work a little bit on the lower nut. Of course, the higher it is, the better it is, but you also have to face that it keeps its position and that it is not flipping over. And this one plus this one makes this angle. I hope you learned even today something regarding this sparkling subject. And if you want to go deeper and know exactly how to set a neck and the details like this, then I would suggest you to go on my Violin Making Academy, Edgar Online Violin Making Academy, and you can learn how to do that. Hope you enjoy. See you soon. Ciao, ciao. And subscribe.